Hi everyone, it's Shea. Welcome to or back to my channel. In today's video, I will be talking about my initial impressions of living in Bologna, what it was like moving to Italy, some more details on my daily routines and my school and how school works, and just answering some questions that you all had about moving to Italy. First off, an overview of my school and class. So I have class every day, Monday through Friday, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's split up where the first 2 hours are grammar exercises, and then we have an hour coffee break, 45 minutes to an hour coffee break, and then we come back for conversation practice for the last hour. So far, school has been really great. I just finished my second week of class, and already I feel like I've learned so much. It's super valuable, and I feel like my first week I was really mentally exhausted every day after I finished class because I definitely wasn't used to studying Italian for 4 hours a day and then hearing it the rest of the day. It's definitely very mentally exhausting. In the beginning, I couldn't understand every single thing my teacher was saying because they speak only in Italian. I feel like by now, I probably get about 90% of the instructions and things that the teachers are telling us, so I definitely feel like I will advance very quickly, and I have definitely met a lot of really cool people. In the beginning, my first week, I was the only one in my class from the US. A lot of people only stay for about a week or two, so my case is very rare that I'm staying for 6 months. But each week we've had new people come in. The first week I had a lot of people in my class from Switzerland, from Brazil, France, and then this past week we had a few more Americans join in. And again, people only staying for a few weeks, so I'll get to know them and then, they'll end up leaving. But eventually I will also move up in classes, so a lot of people are also moving around depending on how quickly they're advancing and what level they're advancing to. For me, the first day was super difficult. I remember we were talking about the condizionale tense, and we did a worksheet, and every time it was my turn to answer, I got every single one wrong, and I thought, like, maybe I'm in the wrong class. But I think it just took some time to get used to everything, and also there's like the first day nerves. But then once I realized that the teacher is obviously there to help you and encourage you, there's definitely no pressure to be perfect. Language learning is all about making mistakes and learning from them, and everyone else in the classroom is really encouraging and very nice, and everyone's gonna make mistakes because we're all learning. I think once I realized that, it was a lot better and I didn't have to focus on like proving myself or being perfect. And then in my class, sometimes we do have homework, sometimes we don't. I would say probably 3 out of the 5 days we have a worksheet to do afterwards, and it usually doesn't take too long, but it just goes over like the grammar that we've gone over for the day. And then as far as my daily routine here, I usually wake up around 7:15, 7:30 in the morning, and that gives me enough time to shower, eat, make coffee, and then I'm lucky because where I'm staying right now is just about a 10-minute walk from the school, so I usually leave my place around 8:45. For those of you who don't know, this is just an Airbnb and I'm in the backyard right now. And then like I said, I have class from 9 to 1 p.m. and then after that I usually head home and have lunch, meet up with my boyfriend, and we will do something in the afternoon. Sometimes it's just relaxing, especially after that first week. We were going out a lot and doing a lot, and so by that weekend we were just super tired and just kind of spent it relaxing. We did take a little afternoon trip to a nearby city called Verona, and that was super beautiful. That was a really great trip and super easy to use the trains here. It took us a little over an hour to get there, and then we had such a nice little afternoon exploring, trying some good food, and then came back that night. So now I want to transition into Bologna itself and things that I like and don't like. I am glad that I'm making this video during my second week because the first week I had a really hard time transitioning to living here, and it made me think like maybe I just don't like Bologna, but I think it took me some time to really appreciate certain parts of the city, and I really do think it is a beautiful, fun city to study in. So first off, I definitely love the colors of the city. Every building is a different shade of orange or red or kind of peachy colors, and I just think that makes for such a beautiful city, especially contrasted against the bright blue sky. I've had a lot of really nice weather here. It really is just so beautiful. So I would say the architecture of the city is really stunning. Obviously the main tourist points of like the Piazza Maggiore and the two towers are really stunning. Super cool to see in person. It's a very different experience seeing pictures and then actually standing in front of these things. Food obviously is one of the highlights for sure. I love the food here. I had the best tagliatelle al ragu here, and it was so good. Such an experience. All the different types of tortellini also are amazing. I also like that it's super super easy to walk around here. And then obviously Bologna is very well known for its porticos, which are the kind of like archways over all of the walkways. I will put in some pictures. They're very cool because they're all very unique depending on what street you're on. While I do really love them because I think they're beautiful, the downside is that I feel like it makes the city feel kind of dark and closed in, but obviously that's a plus when it is super hot and sunny and you want some shade, or it is raining and you need to get out of the rain. I think also the city at night is super beautiful. I really like when my boyfriend and I, we go to dinner and then we'll walk over to Piazza Maggiore at night because it lights up and it looks really beautiful and there's less people there. It's just a different kind of feeling than during the day. And then another thing that I noticed about Bologna is that English definitely isn't super prevalent here, whereas in Rome, pretty much anywhere you go, you could expect people to speak English, whether that was a restaurant or a store. There was someone there who could speak English to help you if you were looking for something or were lost or whatever. I've definitely gone into some places here where they don't speak English at all, no one does, and that's definitely been difficult in times where I couldn't really communicate at all in Italian. For me, it's good and bad because it's good that I get to practice my Italian and it really pushes me to learn to be able to get around here easily, but it's also bad in times where I really am struggling and I just want to ask for something but I don't have the words for it. The first night that we got here, I was so tired. We had just flown for about 18 hours and we went to a pizza place and I walked in, just used English because I was like not about to try to speak Italian on my first night here after being so tired. The lady looked at me and she had no idea what I just said. So that was my first interaction in Italy and it was not great. She was a little bit sassy because she couldn't understand me, so we actually just ended up leaving and going somewhere else. But yeah, definitely a blow to my confidence because I was super tired, super hungry, I had the worst headache, and I was like, I don't think I want to use Italian yet. Yeah, it can be good and bad. And now just a few things that I don't like. Obviously in Europe a lot of people are smoking and the air quality as far as I've been here has never been super great. I don't know if it's because of just this time of year or there are just like, it's a city where I said a lot of it feels kind of closed in and maybe like the pollution from cars and smoking and all that kind of stuff just gets trapped in there, or maybe it's like the pollen because it's the springtime. I don't know. The only downside is that the air quality has been bad sometimes, but I think that's actually characteristic of northern Italy, that a lot of cities within northern Italy don't have the best air quality, but that's not something that I actually was aware of before I came here. And then another thing that I've struggled with a lot is that there's really no direction on what to do when you are going to a restaurant because everywhere is different and it's very different from the US, whereas when you walk in you always just ask, oh, can I have the table for two? Here when you walk in a restaurant, most of the time you're just supposed to choose a table and sit down, or you sit outside. So whenever we have walked in and asked for a table, the waiters kind of look at us like, yeah, you can sit anywhere. And I feel like we're slowly learning what to do in these situations, but it's still difficult because it is sometimes unclear. Sometimes you ask, sometimes you just sit down and a waiter comes to you. But I've asked like other classmates and people, and everyone is just kind of like, yeah, you just have to watch other people to figure out what you're supposed to do, which is very difficult for me because I'm like, just tell me what I'm supposed to do. And also things like when you're ready to pay the bill, you usually just go up to the counter at the front and the waiters don't bring it to you. And then another thing that was very different was just the trash sorting. I don't necessarily remember this happening in Rome, but I could be wrong. Sorting the recycling through all these different trash cans is so confusing. I remember our Airbnb host letting us know how the trash system worked, and we were so confused because the bottles and cans go in one thing and then paper stuff goes in another. Then there's like organic material, which is like food and other stuff like that. And then there's like plastic, and there's a bag for things that just are uncategorized, and you need to use a card to open the dumpster to put that kind of stuff in. It's just like quite the process. I still haven't fully figured it out because in California it was just like trash and recycling. So that has definitely been a process that's like very different. I mean, not necessarily bad, it's just something that's very different that I'm not used to and still trying to figure out because I'm a little confused. And then I just want to finish off with sharing how the transition has actually been, moving from LA to here and how it felt within these past 2 weeks. So as I mentioned, it's Friday and I just finished my second week of class. So I've had 2 weeks here to kind of get an idea of how I feel about things. And I would say the second week has felt very different from my first week. The first week was incredibly difficult. I definitely felt like such an outsider and that I just didn't see myself being able to fully integrate into the city and this culture. I just felt really discouraged because of my Italian level and how much harder it is to speak to native speakers like in the country versus, you know, when you're speaking with a tutor or you're learning in class or something like that. It's just a very different experience. It really stressed me out to the point where like even just going out of the house the first week, I would always get stressed because I knew there was going to be some experience where I wouldn't know what someone was saying or I wouldn't be able to communicate with someone. And so every single time I went out, I was like immediately stressed and I immediately was like, I just want to go home because it was just like very overwhelming for me. I don't think I took enough time to take things slowly. As I mentioned a little bit, I felt really discouraged with my Italian abilities. A lot of people have asked me how I felt speaking Italian in Italy, and I would say that it definitely discouraged me a lot, and I wish I had prepared a little bit more with people still wearing masks and everything and having accents and pronouncing things differently or using different words for things. Sometimes they could be saying something to you that you would understand if it was spoken really clearly and you know how your teacher would speak it to you, but in the real world it's, you know, it's loud somewhere and you can't hear what they're saying and then you just kind of look at them because you're like, I don't know what's happening. So that experience definitely happened more than a few times and still does sometimes. Also just the fact of adjusting to new ways of living, new customs. Obviously you're in a very different place and nothing is really the same. Grocery stores and ordering at restaurants and even just like the time people eat meals and, you know, the usual flow of the city and everything is just so different from what you're used to. For me, I just really crave like routine, and I found it really difficult to get into a routine in the very first week, which I think is what really threw me off because I'm a person who likes my routine, I like to be organized, and I had none of that the first week, so I think it just made me really upset and really overwhelmed and, like I said, really discouraged. I also think I found myself comparing this experience to my Rome experience a lot, which was also very different because I had a lot of things done for me. I was on a program with my school and with friends from my school, so, you know, we could kind of lean on each other and go through this together. And while I do have my boyfriend here, like, we are still doing a lot of this on our own and still having to figure out a lot on my own, you know, whereas the school would handle like all my paperwork and immigration stuff and my permit to stay. I had to do that all by myself this time, and you know, I had to go get my packet and fill out all my paperwork, and then I luckily just turned that in earlier this week. But now the next thing I have to do is find an apartment, and that is definitely stressing me out because it's a lot harder than I thought it would be. Even though I knew it would be difficult, it's still like, I just wish it was as easy as finding a place, calling them, seeing it, and then renting it, but it's definitely not like that here. I also think I was super overwhelmed with the city itself in the beginning because I went from, you know, years of a pandemic, staying mostly at home by myself or with roommates or a boyfriend, and living in a relatively quiet area near the beach, so there wasn't like this loud city and loud noises and all these people. I definitely didn't think the city would be as packed with people as it is. So I think that just like sensory overload definitely hit me the first week. So yeah, I would say the first week was definitely a really hard transition, and I will be honest about that. I think I was so excited and just focused on how amazing it's going to be and how great and fun Italy is going to be, and I wasn't even thinking about like that huge culture shock, you know, like the homesickness as well. So I think it hit me really hard and it had me questioning like, did I make the wrong decision? Should I not have come? But it was really crazy because when the second week started, it was like immediately just switched. I felt super happy and super excited to go to class. I was like walking to class every day, listening to my music and just really enjoying the city and, you know, just appreciating how beautiful it was. I've had really cool conversations with my classmates, and so I think I had more interactions with Italian people that went a lot better than they did the first week. So that was definitely helping to build my confidence with speaking Italian. So instead of going into a restaurant where I'm like, oh no, there's probably going to be something where there's like this awkwardness or we're not understanding each other or I can't understand something, I'm definitely more confident about it, and I know that if that does happen, you know, you can work through it. Because yeah, you definitely have to just be prepared that like you're going to make mistakes and there's probably going to be awkward times where you're just staring at someone because you don't understand what they said. So you just have to like be prepared for that and, you know, not take things so seriously. And that's something that I had to learn, and it's not easy to do. Overall, those are my initial impressions on Bologna and living in Italy. Obviously, there's so much more that I want to share. I am going to do an extra Q&A answering some questions that you sent me on Instagram on my Patreon account. So if you're interested in seeing me answer all of those questions, going a little bit more in depth about my life here, make sure to check out my Patreon page. And then if you become a patron, you will have access to that video as well as all the other exclusive perks I have for my patrons. So be sure to check that out in the link below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below what kind of videos you would like to see, and I will see you all very soon. Thanks for watching.